The creak of the blade cutting through the rope became the only final sound in my ears as I fell. The wind howled past me, like the screams of countless wronged souls. I looked up at the man I once loved to the core, Liam. His handsome face in the shrinking view was filled with determination and a hint of relief. Beside him was his first love, Olivia. She hung onto another rope, tearfully, like a delicate white flower. And I, to protect this flower, was the weed being cut away. Ava, I'm sorry. Olivia, she can't die. Those were the last words he said to me. Then, like a discarded stone, I plummeted rapidly into the bottomless canyon. Ironic, isn't it? Today is our 3rd wedding anniversary. We're both outdoor enthusiasts, and Liam suggested we commemorate this special day with a double rock climb. I happily agreed. But just as we were getting ready, Olivia's call came. On the other end, she was sobbing, saying she had been dumped and felt like her whole world had collapsed, that she couldn't go on living. Liam's brows immediately furrowed. Holding the phone, his voice was softer than I had ever heard. Olivia, don't do anything stupid. Where are you? I'll be right there. I stood to the side, my heart sinking a little. This kind of scene had played out countless times in the past 3 years. Olivia, Liam's childhood sweetheart, had returned from abroad a year ago, after 7 years away, and had since become a thorn in our marriage that couldn't be pulled out. She was unemployed, and Liam used his connections to find her a job. She was sick, and Liam rushed to bring her medicine at 3 in the morning, leaving me alone in the cold bed. She argued with her boyfriend, and Liam could abandon a family dinner with my parents to keep her company and help her drink away her sorrows. I didn't stay silent. But every time, Liam would look at me with those affectionate eyes and say, Ava, don't overthink it. She and I are just friends, like siblings. She's all alone in a city, I can't just ignore her. His friends, my mother-in-law, everyone advised me. Ava, be understanding. Olivia is just too innocent. Liam is just kind-hearted. You're his wife. Innocent? A woman who can have a married man at her beck and call, chatting with her late at night, and always needing her brother to comfort her, is innocent? I scoffed, but could only swallow the grievances and anger time and time again. Because I loved Liam, loved him enough to blind myself for him. This time was the same. Liam hung up the phone and looked at me with a troubled expression. Ava, Olivia is very emotionally unstable. I thought I'd take her out to relax. An extreme sport like rock climbing might help her vent. I looked at him, almost laughing with anger. Liam, today is our wedding anniversary. And Olivia is a beginner climber. Taking her to such a dangerous place. Are you crazy? It'll be okay, I'm there. I'll protect both of you. He came over, put his arm around my shoulder, and pleaded. Ava, just this once, okay? I'm really worried about her. Seeing her like that. Seeing the worry in his eyes, my heart felt like it was pricked with needles. He had never given me that kind of expression. In the end, I still compromised. I even naively thought that perhaps, in front of Olivia, Liam would prove to me with his actions who he truly loved. But reality gave me the loudest, most bloody slap in the face. We chose a rock face of medium difficulty with excellent scenery. Liam, as the lead climber, was experienced, and Olivia and I followed behind. At first, things went smoothly. I deliberately kept my distance from them, not wanting to see the disgusting scene of those two being brotherly and sisterly. Olivia didn't disappoint, acting spoiled and weak all the way. Liam, I'm scared, my hands are weak. Liam, this rock is slippery, I can't get up. Liam showed 12 points of patience, guiding her, encouraging her, and even expending a lot of energy to go up and find her a foothold before coming back down. And I, like an outsider, silently followed behind them, the ice in my heart growing thicker and thicker. The accident happened at 2 in the afternoon. The weather suddenly changed, with a gust of wind blowing without warning, and several pieces of gravel slid down from above. Olivia screamed, her foot slipped, and she was instantly suspended in the air. Her wobble caused Liam, who was on the same rope line, to lose his balance as well. And I, below them, was yanked down by this huge force and slammed hard against the rock face. For a moment, the three of us, like a string of grasshoppers, were hanging in midair, relying solely on a lone rock nail and a main rope on the rock face. Help! Liam, save me! Olivia's cries were so shrill that they seemed to pierce the sky. Don't be afraid. Olivia. Hold on. Liam's voice was also full of panic. My forehead was broken, and blood streamed down my cheeks, blurring my eyes. I endured the pain and looked up. The situation was worse than I thought. The only rock nail was showing signs of loosening under the weight of the three of us, and the cracks in the surrounding rock were widening. It wouldn't last long. Liam, listen to me. I shouted with all my strength, trying to calm him down. Listen, you need to adjust your center of gravity immediately. Slowly transfer your and Olivia's weight to the auxiliary rope on the other side. Then use the ascender. Before I could finish, Liam interrupted me. Ava, don't say any more. I can't do it. His voice trembled with despair. The rock nail is about to fall. All three of us will die. It won't. Trust me. We still have a chance. I tried to keep my voice steady, but my heart was sinking. I knew Liam. We had climbed together for 5 years. I knew his skills and his mental fortitude like the back of my hand. He wasn't unable, he was panicked. His heart was all on Olivia. Liam. I feel so bad. My hands are going to break. I don't want to die. I'm my parents' only daughter. This fragile cry was like a heavy hammer, shattering the last bit of reason in Liam's heart. He stared intently at the precarious rock nail, then glanced at Olivia below, who was crying weakly, a flash of crazy resolve in his face. Then he looked up at me. At that moment, our eyes met, and I saw something in his eyes that I had never seen before. It was apology, it was pain, it was struggle, but more than that, it was a ruthless determination to sacrifice everything for a goal. My heart stopped beating at that instant. An absurd and terrifying thought, like a poisonous snake, burrowed into my mind. No, it can't be. He's my husband. We made vows, to be together for life, never to leave or abandon each other. How could he? Ava. He opened his mouth, his voice as hoarse as sandpaper rubbing together. I'm sorry. Liam, what are you doing? My voice trembled uncontrollably. He didn't answer me, but took a sharp climbing knife from the equipment bag on his waist. That knife was a birthday present I gave him. Imported from Germany, sharp enough to cut iron like mud. The blade reflected a cold, piercing light under the gloomy sky. Liam. Don't. Olivia also saw his action. Instead of stopping him, she cried even harder. A hint of imperceptible expectation and viciousness flashed in her eyes. I saw it all. So this was her true face. So I was the most laughable fool. Liam. I screamed miserably, like a dying cuckoo. You wouldn't dare. He closed his eyes, seemingly unable to bear to look at my face. Ava, you are the strongest, the best at taking care of yourself. His voice drifted in the wind as light as a sigh. But Olivia is different, she's been weak since she was a child, she can't live without me. What a ridiculous reason. Just because I'm strong, I should die? Just because she's weak, she deserves to be saved, even at the cost of my life? I looked at him and suddenly smiled. Smiling and crying. Tears mixed with the blood on my face, both salty and bitter. 3 years of marriage, 5 years of relationship, turned out to be nothing more than a joke. I, Ava, lived for 28 years, decisive in the business world, respected and feared by everyone, but in love, I lost completely, battered and bruised. Liam. I stopped smiling, my voice as cold as the ice in the canyon. You will regret this. I'm sorry. He said those 3 words again, then hand raised, knife fell. Creak. That sound was the most cruel melody I had ever heard. My world spun. Weightlessness enveloped me instantly, like a leaf swept away by a storm. I fell into the endless abyss without the power to resist. In the last second before my consciousness disappeared, I seemed to hear Olivia's relieved sobs, and Liam's heart-wrenching shouts. Ava. Hypocritical. Disgusting. Pain. My whole body felt like it had been torn apart and reassembled, the tearing pain coming from all over my body. I struggled to open my eyes, and what came into view was a mottled tree shadow and a gray sky. Am I still alive? I moved my fingers, and the intense pain made me gasp. I looked down and realized that I was lying on a huge, horizontally growing cliff cypress. This tree grew on a concave cliff, like a natural shelter. It saved my life. I struggled to sit up and checked my injuries. My left leg was broken, twisted at a strange angle. My right arm was dislocated, dangling limply. There were countless scratches and bruises all over my body, and the wound on my forehead had clotted, the scab and hair stuck together, itchy and painful. I've never been so pathetic. But I felt no pain. The wound in my heart was 1,000, 10,000 times more painful than all the physical injuries combined. Liam's resolute face, Olivia's triumphant tears, and the knife that severed all ties between us played repeatedly in my mind like a movie scene. Each frame felt like a poisoned blade, repeatedly torturing my heart. Love. Long gone. What remained was only boundless hatred. Liam, Olivia. You thought I was dead, didn't you? You thought you could be together in peace, using my life to fulfill your great love? Dream on. As long as I, Ava, have a breath left, I will crawl out of hell and personally send you, that dog and bitch couple, into the 18th level of hell, never to be reincarnated. A powerful desire to survive, and a flame of revenge burned fiercely in my chest. I cannot die. I absolutely cannot die here. Enduring the excruciating pain, I began to survey my surroundings. I was halfway up a canyon, neither reaching the sky nor touching the ground. My phone had long since been lost. I had to save myself. Using my only functioning left hand, I unfastened the gear bag from my waist. Thank God it was still there. The contents were sparse: a small bottle of water, half an energy bar, and a first aid kit. First, I used the bandages from the first aid kit to secure my fractured left leg to a sturdy branch, creating a makeshift splint. Then, gritting my teeth, I used my body to strike the rock wall, forcing my dislocated right arm back into its socket. With a crack, the intense pain made me black out for a moment. Cold sweat instantly soaked my back. I gasped for breath until the dizziness subsided. Then I took out the half-energy bar, eating it in tiny bites. I had to conserve my strength. The sky gradually darkened. In the mountains, the temperature plummeted at night, and the cold wind cut at my wounds like knives. I huddled against the tree trunk, cold and hungry, my wounds throbbing with pain. In the darkness, I seemed to hear the howls of wild animals and the chirping of unknown insects. Fear surged like a tide. But I bit my lip hard, refusing to make a sound. Only one thought occupied my mind: survive. I will live to go back and see the terrified and astonished faces of Liam and Olivia. I will make them pay the most painful price for what they have done. This thought, like a flame, sustained me through the long and cold night. The next day, the third day. 2 days passed. My water and food were exhausted. My lips were cracked and bleeding. My throat felt like it was on fire. I began to hallucinate. I saw my parents, anxiously calling my name. I saw the mountains of files piled up at the company, and the subordinates waiting for me to return to make decisions. I even saw Liam. He was still as gentle as ever, reaching out his hand to me and saying, "Ava, let's go home." I shook my head violently and bit down on the tip of my tongue. The sharp pain instantly brought me back to reality, clearly recognizing that the gentle Liam was dead. Dead the moment he raised the knife and cut my safety rope. The current Liam is my enemy. He is the murderer who deliberately tried to kill me. I cannot give up. Using the last of my strength, I rummaged through the first aid kit and found a survival whistle. Then I started to blow. The sharp whistle echoed through the empty canyon. I didn't know if it would work. I only knew that this was my last hope. I would blow for a while, rest for a while, conserving my strength. Time passed second by second. My consciousness gradually began to blur. Just when I thought I was really going to die here, a buzzing sound, from far to near, came over. It was the sound of a helicopter. It was the rescue team. A huge surge of joy erupted in my heart, and I used all my strength to blow the survival whistle. The sound was hoarse but full of power. Soon, the helicopter hovered above me. A rope was lowered, and a figure in an orange rescue suit descended before me like an angel. "Miss, are you all right? Hold on. We're here to save you." Seeing him, I couldn't hold back my tears any longer. They burst forth like a broken dam. I was saved. I can go back for revenge. When I was taken to the temporary medical point at the foot of the mountain, I saw 2 people I had dreamt of tearing to pieces. Liam and Olivia. They had both changed into clean clothes and looked unharmed. Olivia was leaning against Liam's chest, sobbing softly, looking like she had suffered a great injustice. Liam was holding her, comforting her softly, his face full of heartache and pity. Surrounding them were police officers and rescue workers, seemingly gathering information about the situation. What a loving and touching scene. If it weren't for me, this dead person, spoiling the view. My stretcher was carried over. Everyone's eyes instantly focused on me. The air seemed to freeze at that moment. I saw the gentleness and pity on Liam's face instantly transform into extreme shock and fear. His pupils contracted sharply, his mouth gaped wide enough to swallow an egg, as if he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. And Olivia in his arms was even more stricken. Her pitiful face instantly lost all color, becoming as pale as paper, her eyes filled with disbelief and resentment. Yes, resentment. She hated me for not dying. Looking at their wonderful expressions, I suddenly felt that the pain in my body wasn't so bad. I slowly, with difficulty, gave them a cold smile. Husband, seeing that I'm still alive, are you very disappointed? My voice was not loud, but it was like a thunderclap, exploding in the silent crowd. Ava. Ava. Liam finally found his voice. He trembled, pushed Olivia away from his chest, and stumbled towards me. You're not dead? That's great. You're really not dead. He rushed to the side of my stretcher, wanting to hold my hand, forcing a look of ecstasy onto his face, his eyes even brimming with tears. Thank God. I knew you were lucky. Ava, you scared me to death. I thought I would never see you again. His acting was so sickeningly good. If I hadn't personally experienced that hellish fall, and the 2 days and 2 nights of desperate waiting, I would almost have been deceived by his affectionate appearance. I raised my only functioning left hand and avoided his touch. Don't touch me. My voice was as cold as ice. I find it dirty. Liam's movements froze, and the expression on his face solidified. Ava, what? What are you saying? I said, don't touch me with that hand of yours that held the knife and killed me. I said each word clearly and distinctly. I find it disgusting. My words caused everyone around to gasp in surprise. Everyone's eyes, filled with inquiry and suspicion, darted back and forth between Liam and me. A police officer walked over, his expression serious, and asked, Madam, what do you mean by what you just said? What do you mean by killed you? I ignored the police officer. My eyes, from beginning to end, were fixed on Liam. I wanted to see how he would try to justify himself. Liam's face had already changed from pale to livid. The panic in his eyes flashed momentarily, then replaced by a distressed expression. Ava, how can you say such a thing? I know you're injured and resentful, but how can you slander me like this? He turned to the police officer, explaining with a grief-stricken face, Officer, don't listen to her nonsense. The situation was very critical at the time. The rock nail came loose, and all 3 of us were hanging on it. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew and Ava lost her footing and fell. I wanted to save her, but it was too late. He said, painfully closing his eyes, 2 lines of clear tears flowing down at just the right moment. It's my fault. I didn't protect her. It's all my fault. If I could, I'd rather it was me who fell. Heh, what a show of deep affection and self-pity. A waste that he's not an actor. Behind him, Olivia immediately reacted, covering her mouth, crying so hard she could barely breathe, and began to chime in. Yes, officers, don't blame Liam. He really tried his best. When sister-in-law. When she fell, Liam completely broke down, crying like a child, and even wanted to pull me down with him. It was me who held him tight and stopped him from doing something stupid. Sister-in-law, I know you resent us, but things really aren't what you think. She cried while giving me a look of reproach that said, How can you be so unreasonable? The 2 sang in harmony, turning black into white, turning a premeditated murder into a regrettable and unfortunate accident. The way people around me looked at me also began to change. Yes, a woman who had just experienced a life-or-death ordeal, being emotional and talking nonsense, seemed understandable. And her husband, although at fault for not saving his wife, was also a pitiful victim, overcome with grief. If I were a bystander, I probably would have believed their story too. Unfortunately, I wasn't. Watching their strenuous performance, the cold laughter in my heart almost spilled out of my lips. Is that so? I said softly, interrupting their act. Accidental fall? Slowly, I took something out of the pocket of my parka. It was what I had subconsciously grabbed onto tightly in the moment of falling, the severed end of my safety rope. I held it up in front of Liam, showing it to everyone. Liam, tell me, what kind of accidental fall could cause a professional climbing dynamic rope with a diameter of 10.5 millimeters that can withstand more than 2 tons of pulling force to be cut so cleanly? The cut on the rope was smooth as a mirror. It was a mark of being sliced in two with a sharp blade. It could never have been worn down by rocks, or broken due to excessive pulling force. It was a knife cut. All eyes fell on the piece of rope. Many of those present were professional rescue workers and climbing enthusiasts. They immediately saw the problem. Murmurs began to ripple through the crowd. The cut. It really looks like it was done with a knife. Too clean, it couldn't have broken accidentally. What's going on? Could what she's saying be true? Liam's pupils contracted violently again. He stared at the rope in my hand, the color draining from his face, leaving it ashen. He probably never dreamed that I would retain such damning evidence in that kind of situation. No, this isn't. His lips trembled, unable to utter a complete sentence. Isn't what? I looked at him coldly, pressing him step by step. Isn't what you did? Then where's your climbing knife? The birthday present you gave me, that incredibly sharp German climbing knife, where is it? My knife. Liam's eyes began to dart around. My knife. In the confusion, it accidentally fell. I laughed, tears coming to my eyes. Liam, your lying skills are still just as rotten as they were 10 years ago. I turned to the police officer who had been silent, my voice suddenly rising, full of accusation and grief. Officer, I want to report a crime. I, Ava, formally accuse my husband, Liam, and his first love, Olivia, of conspiring to intentionally cut my safety rope during rock climbing, with the intent to murder me. This piece of rope in my hand is the evidence. The injuries on my body are the evidence. I demand an immediate investigation into them. Search their belongings and see where that fallen murder weapon really is. My voice echoed throughout the campsite. Everyone was shocked by my words. Liam and Olivia's faces could no longer be described as pale. They had the gray pallor of the dead. The police officer's expression instantly became extremely serious. Please calm down, Ms. Ava. We will immediately verify the situation you've described. He nodded to a colleague beside him. Xiao Li, please ask these two Mr. Liam and Ms. Olivia to come with us to take a statement and check their equipment. No, I didn't. I'm being framed. Liam, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, instantly bristled. He pointed at me, yelling hysterically, Ava, you're a madwoman. Why are you trying to hurt me like this? Is it because I brought Olivia that you're jealous and deliberately fabricating these lies to get revenge on me? His words reminded me of Olivia, who was trembling behind him. I turned my icy gaze towards that delicate white lotus flower. Miss Olivia, it's your turn. Didn't you say that he was overwhelmed with grief at the time, and wanted to pull you down with him to accompany me? I looked at her, a cruel arc forming on the corner of my mouth. Then do you dare to let the police check your clothes to see if there are any marks on them from being cut by a sharp object? I remembered very clearly. Olivia was right next to Liam when he cut my rope. The knife was so close to her. In that kind of chaos, the blade might have accidentally cut her clothes or even her skin. Olivia's body stiffened abruptly. She subconsciously covered her left arm with her hand. That movement, although only for a moment, was keenly captured by me, and seen clearly by the surrounding police officers. Officer, I didn't. I don't know anything. Her voice trembled terribly, tears falling like broken beads. I was so scared at the time I didn't see anything. Sister-in-law, why are you doing this to me? I know you don't like me, but you can't falsely accuse me like this. She still wanted to use the same trick, using tears to gain sympathy. Unfortunately, in the face of irrefutable evidence, no amount of tears could conceal the truth. 2 police officers had already walked up to them, saying expressionlessly, Mr. Liam, Miss Olivia, please cooperate with our investigation. Liam wanted to resist, but was intimidated by a sharp look from the police officer. He looked at me, his eyes filled with resentment and unwillingness, as if I were the heinous murderer. I met his gaze without fear, my eyes full of endless coldness and mockery. Liam, the game has just begun. The police were very efficient. In less than 10 minutes, they found the blood-stained climbing knife from the hidden compartment of Olivia's backpack. The blood was mine, and Liam's fingerprints were clearly left on the handle of the knife. At the same time, the forensic doctor also found a cut on Olivia's left arm jacket made by a sharp object. Witnesses and evidence were all present. Liam and Olivia were taken into custody by the police on the spot. I was carried into an ambulance by medical personnel and sent to the best hospital in the city. Lying in the ambulance, the first thing I did was not to contact my parents, but to call my company's chief legal counsel, Mr. Ryan. Mr. Ryan, my voice was a little hoarse due to weakness, but my thoughts were exceptionally clear. Help me do 2 things. First, immediately draft a divorce agreement. I want Liam to leave with nothing. We had an agreement before the marriage that all the assets under his name, including the car, house, company shares, are all part of the increase in my premarital property, and I have the right to recover them all. Second, I want to file a criminal lawsuit against him and Olivia for intentional homicide. I want them to spend the rest of their lives in prison. Mr. Ryan on the other end of the phone was clearly stunned by my words. Miss Ava, what happened? Are you injured? A little accident, nothing fatal. I narrated calmly. My husband, for the sake of his first love, pushed me off a cliff. Oh no, he cut my rope. I could imagine the shocked expression on Mr. Ryan's face at that moment. Okay, Miss Ava, I understand. He quickly regained his professionalism. Don't worry, I'll take care of these 2 things immediately. Focus on recovering, and leave everything else to me. Hanging up the phone, I breathed a long sigh of relief. Outside the car window, the city lights lit up one by one, and were left behind one by one. But my heart was calmer than ever before. Without love, there are no weaknesses. From now on, I, Ava, will live for myself. I stayed in the hospital for a whole month. During that time, my parents rushed over from out of town, and seeing my injuries, cried their hearts out. I told them the whole story, and my dad was so angry that he wanted to rush to the police station to fight Liam to the death, but my mom held him back. Dad, Mom, don't worry. I held their hands, my eyes firm. Your daughter isn't so easily defeated. I will settle this score with them, bit by bit. Liam's mother, my mother-in-law, also came to the hospital and made a scene several times. The first time she came was on the 3rd day of my hospitalization. As soon as she rushed into the ward, instead of being concerned about my injuries, she started to berate me. Ava, you snake-hearted woman. What lies did you tell the police? Why are you trying to harm our Liam? She pointed her finger at my nose and cursed like a shrew. Liam loves you so much. How could he hurt you? It must be you. It must be that you accidentally fell yourself, and now you're falsely accusing him. What a cruel heart you have. What kind of evil did the Chen family do to marry a jinx like you? Looking at her face twisted with anger, I didn't even have the strength to argue with her. I simply pressed the call button on the bed. Soon the nurse and security guard arrived. Please get her out of here. I pointed to my mother-in-law and said to the security guard, from now on this person and all the people of the Chen family are not allowed to set foot in my ward. You dare. My mother-in-law trembled with rage. Ava, I'm your mother-in-law. Do you even respect your elders? From the moment Liam wielded a knife against me, you ceased to be my mother-in-law. I looked at her coldly. Get out. The security guards forcefully dragged my mother-in-law out. She threw a tantrum in the corridor, wailing and creating a scene, attracting a crowd of onlookers. I didn't even bother to lift my eyelids. She came a second time, with a lawyer and a letter of forgiveness. At that time, Liam and Olivia had been formally arrested and indicted for intentional homicide. She had completely changed from her previous arrogance and wept bitterly in front of me. Ava, please, for the love of God, forgive Liam this once. He's still young, he can't go to jail. His life will be ruined if he goes to jail. She pushed the letter of forgiveness towards me. Ava, as long as you sign this letter of forgiveness, the Chen family is willing to compensate you. Our old house and all my savings are yours. Please, for the sake of our past as a family, please be lenient and let Liam off the hook. I looked at the letter of forgiveness and found it utterly ridiculous. Let him off the hook? I looked at her and asked, then who will let me off the hook? When he pushed me off the cliff, did he ever think about letting me off the hook? When I was desperately waiting to die in the mountains, who came to let me off the hook? My voice was not loud, but every word struck like a dagger. My mother-in-law's crying stopped abruptly, and her face turned ugly. That was an accident, wasn't it? Liam was just momentarily confused. Momentarily confused? I sneered. Killing your wife of marriage in order to save your first love is momentarily confused. In your eyes, your son's future is more important than my life, isn't it? My mother-in-law was speechless. I picked up the letter of forgiveness and in front of her, tore it to shreds bit by bit. Go back and tell your son to prepare himself. On the day of the trial, I will personally appear in court to testify and send him in. I threw the scraps of paper in her face and said, word by word, for the rest of his life, let him repent in prison. Ava, you venomous woman. Seeing that pleading was hopeless, my mother-in-law revealed her true colors again, pointing at me and cursing viciously. I closed my eyes, not wanting to look at her anymore. No matter what she said, it could no longer shake me in the slightest. A month later, I was discharged from the hospital. My leg was still in a cast, and I needed a wheelchair. Mr. Ryan came to pick me up on the day of my discharge. He told me that the divorce proceedings had been completed. Because Liam was at fault, and we had a prenuptial agreement, the court awarded all the marital property under our names to me. Liam was truly left with nothing. I also used Mr. Ryan to handle the civil claim part of the lawsuit against Liam and Olivia. They needed to jointly compensate me for medical expenses, lost wages, and emotional distress, totaling more than $3 million. Of course, I knew they couldn't afford it. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that I wanted them to be left with nothing. The criminal case was scheduled to be heard in half a month. During these 2 weeks, I was both recovering from my injuries at home and handling the backlog of company affairs. I thought that this matter would simply come to an end. Unexpectedly, 3 days before the trial, I received an unexpected phone call. It was Olivia's parents calling. They apologized profusely on the phone, and then suggested that they wanted to meet me. I originally wanted to refuse, but one sentence they said made me change my mind. They said, Ms. Ava, we know some secrets about Olivia and Liam that might be helpful to your lawsuit. I agreed. The meeting place was set in a quiet cafe. Olivia's parents were a middle-aged couple who looked honest and simple. When they saw me, they bowed deeply. Ms. Ava, we're sorry we didn't teach our daughter well, which led her to do such outrageous things. Mr. Lynn's face was full of guilt and vicissitudes. We're here today to atone for that evil girl. As they spoke, they handed me a craft paper bag. Inside are all of Olivia's spending records from the time she returned to the country, as well as her and Liam's chat logs. We secretly copied them from her computer. I opened the paper bag with suspicion. Inside was a thick stack of A4 paper. I flipped through them page by page. The more I looked, the colder my heart became, and my hands trembled uncontrollably. The spending records showed that Olivia had almost no source of income in the year she returned to the country. But she lived an extremely luxurious life. Designer bags, high-end cosmetics, 5-star hotels. All the bills and the payers were Liam. So his so-called helping out was this kind of bottomless support. And those chat logs made me feel like I had fallen into an ice cave. Liam, I saw a new bag, can you buy it for me? Emoji flirtatious. Liam, can't bear to see you working so hard, I'll support you. Liam, did Ava argue with you again? It's all my fault, maybe I should leave, I don't want to ruin your relationship. Don't talk nonsense, it has nothing to do with you. She's just too petty. Olivia, don't worry, no one is more important than you in my heart. Liam, aren't we being unfair to Ava? No. The person I love is you. From beginning to end, only you. Marrying her was just a business marriage for my family's business. Business marriage? I looked at these 4 words, trembling with anger, almost crushing the paper in my hand. Miss Ava, don't be angry. Mrs. Lynn looked at my pale face and spoke carefully. Actually, Olivia came back this time to steal Liam back. She felt that you had taken away everything that should have belonged to her. So she designed all of this? I raised my head, my eyes filled with bloodshot veins. Yes, Mr. Lynn nodded painfully. She suggested the rock climbing trip. She said she wanted to create an accident, so that you would disappear forever. She said that as long as you were dead, Liam would belong to her alone. And Liam? I asked, almost gnashing my teeth. He agreed to it too. He didn't agree at first. Mrs. Lynn sighed, but Olivia. She told Liam that she was pregnant, that the child was his. Something seemed to explode in my head. Pregnant? Olivia was pregnant with Liam's child? Of course that's fake. Mr. Lynn explained immediately. She was lying to Liam. She knew that Liam felt guilty towards her, and wanted a child, so she used this lie to force him to submit. So that's how it was. So this was the last straw that broke Liam's back. A woman he had loved for many years, and now, she was pregnant with his child. And I, the business marriage wife, naturally became the expendable, superfluous obstacle. I understood. I understood everything. I put away the documents and nodded to Olivia's parents. Thank you. These things are very important to me. We should be thanking you. Thank you for not giving up on life and exposing their crimes. Mr. Lynn stood up and bowed to me again. Ms. Ava, we only have one request. Let the law decide the punishment. We have no objections. We only ask to see her one last time before she is executed. Their faces held the deepest sorrow of parents. I was silent for a moment and said, I will convey your request to the judge. Half a month later in court, I sat in the plaintiff's seat, looking coldly at the adulterous couple in the defendant's seat. They had both become much more haggard in the days since I last saw them. Liam's face was covered with stubble, and his eyes were dim. Olivia was even more gaunt, and the pitiful look she had once possessed was gone. When they saw me, their eyes were filled with resentment and fear. The court proceedings were uneventful. With witnesses and physical evidence, their defense lawyers had almost nothing to argue with. Liam insisted that he was guilty of negligent manslaughter, saying that he only wanted to cut the rope at the time to reduce the burden on the rock nails, and did not expect me to fall. Olivia, on the other hand, washed her hands of everything, saying that she knew nothing and saw nothing. How ridiculous. When it was my lawyer's turn to present his case, Mr. Ryan presented the evidence I obtained from Olivia's parents to the judge and the jury, one by one. Liam and Olivia had a long-term illicit relationship. Together, they conspired and fabricated a climbing accident. Olivia even used the lie of a fake pregnancy to coerce and catalyze Liam's murderous motive. One piece of evidence after another, like heavy hammers, shattered their lies. Liam completely broke down when he saw those chat records. He stared fixedly at Olivia, his eyes bloodshot and filled with disbelief. You lied to me? You weren't pregnant at all? You've been lying to me all along. Olivia trembled under his gaze, unable to utter a single word. I did all this for you. I did all this for you. Liam suddenly went crazy, wanting to rush over and strangle Olivia. You bitch. You ruined me. I'll kill you. Court officers swarmed forward, pinning him firmly to the ground. The entire courtroom descended into chaos. I watched the farce with cold eyes, without a single ripple in my heart. Dogs fighting, all bark and no bite. Serves them right. Finally, it was my turn as the victim, to make a final statement. I pushed my wheelchair and slowly came to the center of the courtroom. I looked at Liam, who was being held up by court officers and was still struggling madly, and at Olivia, who was slumped on the ground, her face ashen. I spoke, my voice not loud, but clear enough to be heard throughout the courtroom. I have nothing to say. I just want to tell them and also tell myself. When a person can raise a butcher knife and slash at the person they once loved, they are no longer worthy of being called human. I can stand here today not because I was lucky, but because heaven has eyes. It spared my life so that I could personally watch you two beasts receive the punishment you deserve. I request the court to impose a severe sentence according to the law, with no leniency. Having said that, I turned my wheelchair and left the courtroom without looking back. the commotion and curses behind me had nothing to do with me. The final verdict was handed down. Liam was sentenced to life imprisonment for intentional homicide, due to conclusive evidence and cruel methods. Olivia, as the mastermind and instigator, was also sentenced to life imprisonment. They would spend their long and regretful remaining years in prison. As for me, the moment I received the verdict, I calmly threw it, along with my wedding photo with Liam, into the fireplace. The flames rose, burning those unbearable memories into ashes. My legs fully recovered a year later. I stood up again, straighter and more firmly than before. I managed the company in an organized manner, and the performance tripled. I picked up my climbing stick and safety rope again, conquering one after another, higher and more dangerous peaks. Every time I stood on the summit, overlooking the sea of clouds and mountains below, I would remember that fall. It was not the end. It was my rebirth.